guys, and welcome back to the Josh YouTube channel, where it is episode 3 of the trip ahead. And today we'll be speaking about the first Manchester club, which is the Reds out of Manchester United. There's only one man from Manchester United, of course, that's Reece, who is my co-host in the Josh and Reece Podcast, which will be an episode of the Josh and Reece Podcast tonight, as this video is uploaded on Monday. And he's off the back of Manchester United's first pre-season game of a long season ahead. So there's absolutely a lot to get through. How are you doing today, Reece?
Yeah, I'm doing good, buddy. Thanks for having me on. Obviously, this is a pre-record for our podcast for tonight, even because it's going to be uploaded on Monday. So, thanks for having me on, man.
Yeah, so there's gonna be a lot of Reece. There's gonna be a lot of Reece on the channel on Monday. If you can barely, I can barely stick with him for one show, never mind two. So you can all feel my pain. But I said, obviously, let's get started. Let's briefly talk about last season. Very briefly. So obviously, last season was probably disappointing for how things could have gone. You know, you had the FA Cup there. You could have pushed forward. Obviously, the Europa League final, you lost in penalties and a dramatic penalty shootout. The league was obviously probably disappointed because City were there for the taking, especially in the first half of the season. I remember watching a Chelsea season, reviewing I think 16 games in, City were not even in the top 8.
No, they were stuck with us down in 15th, 16th. We were down there together, yeah.
So when you think about when you look at last season overall, you know, okay, yes, there was signs of improvement. Some players performed very well. Mason Greenwood did quite well. You know, Dean Henderson got his chance at United. Cavani did well, but overall, for Manchester United standards, it was a very disappointing season.
Yeah, it was. It's hard not to ignore there were games that realistically we shouldn't have lost that had a detrimental impact to our season. Two that stand out. Well, actually, no. To be fair, there's plenty, but there's two that stand out. The one being the loss to Spurs at the beginning of the season, the humbling we got, and the loss to Sheffield United back in January when we were top of the league. Those two games had very important reminders and impacts on our season and where we need to improve. There's the games against Chelsea, the dead rubber draw, the score draw as well, which didn't help. There were games that frankly really were embarrassing. Even the Arsenal game where we lost to the penalty situation, which was unfortunate. But we still had games where throughout the season that we were impressive to watch, where we could really cause problems. I think the one game that people talk about that really for me was our Premier League game of the season probably was the Leeds game. 2-0 up in the first couple of minutes. We dominated them. This was a Leeds team that everyone was raving about. Commentators were up their arse and everything. And we gave them an absolute hammering, and that set the tone really. But the sad thing is we can play really good football, but we didn't win a trophy. But we came second, and I said on our World of Football podcast at the start of the year that I think we were going to finish second. I was consistent with that.
Here's a good question to ask you. You had some extremely good performances in the league. Right? Yeah. Like, incredible performances in the league. Why has this team, which has pretty much been the same team over the last 2 seasons, struggled in the big cup games? Why did they struggle against City in the League Cup that year when they outplayed City every other time? Why did they get outplayed by a Leicester team that was riddled with injuries? How did they struggle to beat Villarreal, who finished 8th in La Liga? But they were doing it in the league. Is there a big mentality problem, or is it the fact that the coaches don't know how to do it on the big stage in a one-off game and ignore my wee friend that's up here?
More the merrier. I think there is a level of both. I think there is a mentality part because it's the same with all teams. There's teams that have drops in certain games that shouldn't be there. We definitely didn't take advantage of certain games. The Leicester game, there was moments in that game that was embarrassing. We got the game back to 1-1 and then heads dropped. The City game over 2 legs, we should have done better, which didn't really help. You've also got a thing that didn't help us as well, with finding out that we would have played Leicester. After beating Leicester, we would have played Southampton in the semi-finals, which does not help. I think a level of, we can just go out and beat them rather than not taking them seriously. Villarreal, I don't know. We didn't do anything in that game that justifies a score, and it was literally pick up the ball, pass wide, cross it, fail, pass it back to Pogba, and repeat. It was a rinse-repeat situation. I was on a watch-along on Rich Sports Channel on the Europa League final, and the one thing I said going into this game is, and it's a no disrespect to Villarreal, it's just a comment based on their style. They're a Spanish version of Burnley. They will defend very tight, compact, and then if necessary, they'll go direct via counter-attack and they'll score. And they did that to us. They went direct from a free kick, and they put the ball past David De Gea, which in the end got them the lead. We had to come back. We didn't go direct in that game once, which worries me. Like a team like we do, the ball bounced obviously to Cavani from a McTominay pass. It bounced to him and he finished it. But we weren't convincing anywhere else, and that worries me. But I'm looking at going forward, and we're going to improve on that, and that gives me a great deal of confidence. But it's just about, we've got to be consistent, and we need to have a sense of mentality where we don't drop, because we were brilliant in the second half games as well, especially in like away form. We didn't lose a single game in the league away from home. It says it all really how good we are attacking from home, but we need to transfer that to the home form as well.
Okay, that's fair enough. And here's an important question that I think is quite relevant. Right. So, do you think not winning anything these last 2 seasons for all these players and being so close in these semi-finals and losing the final, do you think this adds just a lot more pressure to the players, that these United players and these United coaches are undoubtedly going to feel that they know they've been so close so many times and not win anything for United? It's going to add extra pressure that winning that Europa League final would have released.
Yeah, I certainly agree, because you look at what winning the trophy can do for some teams. For some teams, it can give them a lift, and for some, it can get to their head and then they falter. I think if this United team was to win a trophy, I think it would definitely give them a massive boost. It would relieve them a sense of pressure. We've seen teams before that have won like the Carabao Cup, and it gave them a sense of confidence. That, like, I can remember Mourinho's first Chelsea team. He won what was then called just the Carling Cup. They beat Liverpool in the final, and then it took them to the league title. He done the same with us 5 years ago. He won the Carabao Cup against Southampton 2-1 in January, and then we went on to win the Europa League. So I do believe that winning a trophy can work wonders, but it depends on the team's mentality. I think if this United team, especially the coaches as well, it would give them a great leaf of confidence in themselves, that yes, we can go and strive to do more, but they have to want it rather than just saying, oh, we've won something, we're entitled to success. You've got to earn it. And I think if we were to win a trophy, it would relieve some pressure off their backs, but also make them feel challenged to go and win something big like the Champions League or the Premier League, which is ideally the ones you want. It would give them good stead.
Here's there was something Rooney said today, which I want to hear what you say. It's obviously coming from the Derby County manager, Man United legend. Mm-hmm. There will be a lot of pressure on Manchester United, and there should be at Manchester United. Sancho's came in, rumours of a few more. The fans will want silver. The pressure is on all the endless coaches. You can see they are gradually better. I think they'll be in a better place. They really will challenge next season.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's coming out openly saying that United haven't been good enough so far, and Ole has a lot to prove. But he thinks that maybe they're at the stage now where they could challenge for the title.
Yeah, he's going into his second full season, and he's been backed. So I certainly think he has got to prove himself. Obviously, at Man United, there's always going to be a level of expectation on you. Doesn't matter how far into the job you are. But because he's now into his second full season, he's worked more with these young lads, this team that he's building. He's replacing players that he didn't deem necessary or worth it for the club. And he's brought in players that now should be doing more. He's kept players like Paul Pogba on his side, striving to do more. And if we were to add more to this team, keep him in the team, then we can certainly go further. It's just a matter of, do these players want it? And I understand Rooney's comments, and we are, even if Solskjaer wasn't to win a trophy this year and he was to say lose his job, which I hate for anyone to lose their job. I've never been on the side of it. But if he was to, say for example, get us second again, but didn't win a trophy, and then they decided, you know what, you haven't won anything, we're going to move you on. The team itself is in a better position now than what it was when Mourinho left. It's in a much better position squad-wise, talent, overall, the youth academy promoting, where if we were to go and get a top-class manager, like a world elite manager, and he brought in his own coaching staff, he would be in such a better position to go and, say, win the league or win the Champions League because of the wealth of talent left behind now than what it was, say, 3-4 years ago.
That's a fair enough comment. So on to obviously your transfer business now. There hasn't been there's been a lot of talk, but very little actually done in terms of on the sheet. But we'll get first. So start off with obviously Tom Heaton, free transfer in Aston Villa. Third choice goalkeeper, unless Henderson or head-to-head is gone, but that really does not look like the case at all. There's literally zero reports about any of that. This guy wants to be the number one choice. It's not going to happen, but he's a very good third choice in case something really bad did happen.
Yeah, absolutely.
So there's no. So Chong was on loan at Club Rouge in Belgium last year. He is going to Birmingham City. Had a good first half today, I thought. He obviously got a goal. He done very well to win the ball back. Got a bit lucky to actually get the goal in the end, but you need that luck in football. Chong's been highly rated. He's now 22. He's going on his, I think it's second or third loan now. For Manchester United.
Third loan overall. He's been to Bruges. He's been to Werder Bremen. And now he's going to Birmingham. I think going to Birmingham is going to do him a great stead because it's a very physical league and it's about 46 games. So it's good for him to get plenty of minutes. 46
games. He'll play a ton of football because obviously they play twice every week in the Championship. I feel like this is probably you have loans for certain players and certain loans that clubs look at and say, right, is this player able to make it or is he not? And this is for Chong. Is the loan that's the make or break potentially for a chance at Man United next season?
I certainly think it is his make or break. He's a player I've always wanted to do well. I know it's not worked out for him. Another player, for example, is no longer employed by the club. Angel Gomez was one. He felt he was hard done by certain players giving contracts over him, but he also demanded money that, in my opinion, he didn't deserve. But I'm looking at Tahith Chong and I really want him to do well. So plenty of minutes. Birmingham. He needs to do what Alanga did. Alanga went to Macclesfield during the summer period there when the Euros were on. He went to Macclesfield and he built up his physical body as well. Like he improved in terms of like to combat the league or any type of like physical player. He's done that, but he still kept himself to a shape where he's still physically quick. He's still good on the ball, which he showed today as well. That's what I want Tahith Chong to do. Is I want him to get a bit of a physical presence behind him, but not too much where he becomes ineffective.
If I'm not mistaken, when you mentioned Anthony Angela, he's been promoted to the senior squad. If I'm not mistaken.
Yes, he has. Yeah, he's been promoted. He's one of our left wingers. He can also play in a central position as well.
Next player, Andres Pereira. He obviously was on loan at Lazio in the second half of last season. I can believe when I see he was on the bench today. He did nothing. He did nothing in the second half. Like it is just a matter. Like United have to get him off the wage, but if it's by a loan or by a transfer, because like. There's no way he's going to have any part to play within Manchester United.
If Man United struggle to sell him, then just scrap his contract. Because he's not good enough.
I thought he struggled today in that friendly. I don't think he did very much.
He was awful today, and I hate talking negative about our players, but even for a pre-season friendly, the guy was awful to watch. Awful.
Diego Dalot, obviously on loan at AC Milan the second half of last season. He did very well at AC Milan. Obviously, you're an AC Milan fan too, so he did quite well. Obviously, there's rumours about Trippier maybe gone quite dead. Do you think now maybe United are going to settle down and have Diego Dalot as the backup to Wan-Bissaka, or do you see Dalot being shipped off on loan again?
I still think Trippier might come in. In all fairness, I still think that's going to happen. There's rumours now that Atletico Madrid are now willing to accept 19 million, which, to be fair, if we were to get Varane, for example, and Trippier for 68 million, That's a fantastic piece of business. I look at Dalot, in my opinion, he's not a right back. Defensively, he's not that good, but attacking wise, he's really good to watch. I think if you were to play him as a backup winger, he'd be so much better than as a backup fullback. I don't trust him as a fullback, but I don't know what's going to happen with him. I think, is he going to be kept? Is he not? I don't know. It's hard to say. But if we were to sign Kieran Trippier, then I do believe Dalot will be moved on.
Do you think Dalot was a bit of a weird signing from Mourinho? He was bought from Porto. I think it was bought from Porto, but he was bought from Porto when he was in the middle of a serious injury. He didn't get playing until the following pre-season. Cost a fair bit of money too. Do you just think that it was a deal that just logically made no sense at the time?
It didn't make any sense to me, no. But I can see where he was looking for in terms of a young attacking fullback. I understand that makes sense. Because also Ashley Young, Antonio Valencia, they were the only, and obviously Luke Shaw, but he wasn't particularly trusted by Mourinho. Dalot, you would expect, okay, he's going to come in and get minutes, but even when he played, he didn't really deliver. He only had one good game, and that was in a cup game against Tranmere. Other than that, I've never really been convinced by him.
Another player, obviously, who was on loan at Dani Alves second half of the season. You signed him in January, I think, from Atalanta for a 19-year-old. The fee was quite high. Obviously, Pasteri took his goal extremely well today. I thought he rounded the keeper like there was no tomorrow. Really clean, really good. He's extremely highly rated. I think he scored. I think it was 19 goals in the development league before he went on loan. I think I heard today one from the United commentator. So this kid's got. It's just a matter of getting him another good loan and another good league and let him continue his development.
Yeah, he's came out today after the game. I was listening to his interview, and he said he doesn't want to go back. He was asked about going back to Alaves on loan, purely because obviously had a very successful loan there. He was asked if he wants to go back, and his words were, "No, I want to stay." So I think in his mind, he's like, why should I go on loan? Now I can stay and prove myself. But with all due respect, we're about to wrap up the signing of Jadon Sancho, properly, announce him, which will be when he returns from his holiday. He's on holiday with Marcus Rashford at the moment. When he comes back, Facundo Pellistri, he's a fantastic player. He's one that I rate highly. I still think he needs a loan move. One more loan just to see where he goes, because he's 19, 20 this year, I think. He does need a loan, but he can play across the wide positions. He can play through the middle if called upon. He will be useful in certain games, but if I was Pellistri, with all respect to him, I would give him one last loan and then bring him back, because we've still got Amad Diallo, who's apparently going out on loan as well. We have young attacking options. We'll see what happens, but for me, I would prefer him to go out on loan, and I would like him to go back to Alaves. I think that was a role and a team that was fit for him.
Obviously, I'm glad that isn't on here because he hasn't officially been announced. Everything's been agreed. I think paperwork left, as Solskjaer said, is Jadon Sancho.
Right. That's right.
Obviously, you spoke about Sancho in detail. Obviously, this is your first proper right winger, and I think probably since maybe Di Maria or even Ronaldo. We're going that far back.
Since Ronaldo, because Di Maria was viewed as a number 10. So he's been playing as a winger for PSG, yeah, but
this is a lot.
First winger since Ronaldo.
A long overdue winger, very, very young, ripped up the Bundesliga. Done well for England when he did play. Obviously, didn't play very much during the Euros for some bizarre reason, but this guy he can assist. He was given Highland a hard assist in the Bundesliga like there was no tomorrow. He can take goals. His runs in between the channels, in between the lines, is specific for such a young player. He's so intelligent. It makes you think if you can get Rashford, Bruno, Cavani, and Greenwood / Cavani and James
as well, in games where, for example, where Alex Telles is going to play. Also Shaw won't play every game, but there's games where Alex Telles is going to play. He's another creative fullback. That's like 6 or 7 creative players, and then you got 3 or 4 in there that can do the grunt work and defend.
That's also
a lot of possibility.
Let me just say, also there was a lot of reports, and I saw we'll get into the preseason in a minute, but obviously there was a lot of reports that there is serious talk that Solskjaer may generally be switching to a 4-3-3 next season. I know that this was reported by the Athletic, and they normally get things spot on. So it makes you think that if the coaches can learn from their mistakes last season. Obviously, Eric Ramsey's there now. We'll get onto him in more detail too. There is serious, genuine threat that this United team could be such an attacking force, and it could generally challenge City in terms of the excitement and the flair in the attacking side of the game.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to be looking as a more attacking team next year. We're going to be pressing from the front, high press. Like you saw it today, like the young players that we played up front, they were pressing from minute one. To even when they got substituted and the players that came on, like Hannibal, Shola Shortier, Hugo, Palestri, they were all pressing from the front and they didn't let up. The midfield press today, and I'm like, that's what we've been crying out for, is a team that will just want to press opposition. And when our first team get back, you'll see them against the likes of Everton. Like the main players are going to be against Everton, for example, Brentford. They're going to be pressing from the front. They're going to be slick, sharp passing that's going to cause problems. We're going to be better from set pieces, both offensively and defensively. I'm glad that we're going to be playing a 4-3-3 because it means no longer it'll be McTominay and Fred in the defensive positions. From what I've heard, Solskjaer wants to use Fred as an advanced midfielder, rotate him. The way he played for Brazil at the Copa America, I think that makes more sense for Fred because he had a very good Copa playing as an advanced midfielder. Get him in those games. He doesn't have to start every game, but play him. He can certainly cause problems. So I hope to hell we switch to a 4-3-3 because it's so much better for this team. Gets us an extra attacking player as well, which is so vital.
And then the last player who also isn't on this in the list is, or in the loan list, is Jesse Lingard. He played again today, nearly had an incredible goal at the crossbar, really, really unlucky. It was some strike.
Very.
Obviously, West Ham don't want to pay the money. Manchester United want for him. No other club or seems to be not interested in him. Solskjaer did say he is in the plans for next season as things stand. I actually think that I think this is the perfect scenario where you've got Jesse Lingard back at Manchester United, wanting to fight for his place. He's in this for himself, and it probably gives Bruno competition that Bruno probably needs because a kick up the backside and competition is never a bad thing.
That's true. It's always good to compete. I don't know if he's going to stay. I'm not necessarily sure if Jesse Lingard's going to stay. I think there's a chance we might still move him on to West Ham, but if he doesn't, we can still use him as a 10 if we need to, and we can use him as a right winger, left winger, wherever he needs to play. Like, I don't know necessarily what's going to happen, but if he's there, he does give us an extra dimension, and I'm all for it. Like, it gives us like strength and depth. It's quality as well, like the quality of depth as well. We'll see what happens, really, but if he stays, then great. You're not wrong. Like, competition is important. But if he moves on, at least we know we can get the players in that can adequately come in and do the right job that will be good enough to do it.
Players that have definitely left the club, so obviously chunks of them. Romero, you've already spoken about in detail. Obviously, extremely terrible way that the guys had to leave the club. There's actually very disappointing talks that he actually might be retiring from football now because he feels like at his age, not playing for a whole season and not tuning for a whole season isn't going to benefit him and can cause damage to his body. Like, for the fact that he might retire because the fact he can play and he didn't want to be with Solskjaer, so he can train. Like, it just gets worse. It goes from a sad story for the club to the fact that it's so personal to Romero that he might just retire.
I know. It's absolutely horrible, and I absolutely love Romero. Me and you have spoken numerous times about the Man United goalkeeper situation, and I've always said he's one of my favourites because this man literally turned up where it mattered most. He was unlucky not to be in the semi-finals last season. In my opinion, and I say this and I stick by it, and this is no disrespect to Dean Henderson, this is no disrespect to David De Gea, but you look at the semi-finals that we were in, or even that one final, he was omitted from the Carabao Cup semi-finals against Man City. He was omitted from the Europa League semi-final against Sevilla. David De Gea was favoured both times. We would have won those games if Romero was in because he commands his box so much better. If he wasn't omitted from the squad last season, we would have won the Europa League final against Villarreal because his penalty saving record is far superior and he's proven in those games he's dominant. I also look at the game against Leicester. with all due respect to Leicester, we would have beaten them with Sergio Romero in goal. We would have done. But to be fair, he didn't. We didn't. But he trusted De Gea in those games. Sadly, it didn't work out. But I believe if we had Romero in, we would have won.
That's fair enough. And then obviously Joe Pereira, he's a shit goalkeeper. Joe Pereira is
he's gone.
I remember. Do you remember his loan spell at Hearts and how bad he was at Natal?
He only had one good game. Good game. It annoyed me who it was against.
Rangers. Mm-hmm. He went to Hearts on loan to replace Natal, who's a shit goalkeeper. And he was that shit as Natal ended up replacing him anyway, because Pereira was literally making a mistake every game. For the age of 25, he's awful, and now he's away to a relegation-bounded team in the Dutch league. So, yeah, I don't know.
That's his level. Bye. I prefer Matej Kovar, and I prefer Nathan Bishop.
On to, obviously, you had a pre-season game today, so obviously we'll get on to that. So obviously you played Derby County at Pride Park today in your first pre-season game. So your starting 11 was Tom Heaton, Brandon Williams, Axel Tansebi, Menge, Aaron Wan-Bissaka, Levitt, James Garner, Chong, Mata, Angela, and Mason Greenwood. I thought obviously Chong had a good game. I thought Garner had a very, very good first half. I thought Garner impressed me. I thought defensively, I think on the ball and his passing, he needs to work a wee bit on, but he is obviously extremely young. I thought that loan deal he had last season was really beneficial. Brandon Williams probably showed that he's not a left back. He struggled on that left back quite badly. The two centre backs I wouldn't be surprised if you see those two as a future pairing in the future. I genuinely wouldn't surprise me if you do. Tom Heaton looked quite solid and quite commanding. Mata, he's not going to play during the season, so he's just there to help the younger ones, you'd say. Greenwood looked a bit off, but he did have an injury obviously during the summer, so you don't know how fit he particularly was. So
yeah,
the first half team solid. It was actually, and I seen some United fan complain that the build-up play was too slow and United weren't playing good enough. Like, look at that! Look how many kids there is in that team. Like, where's the chemistry in that team?
These are all young kids that played each other in the academy over the past couple of years as well. Like, they have played together. The only one, but the thing is, they have, like you said, there's a difference between playing at academy and first team level, so it is naturally going to be slow. And I did see a few tweets, and I did respond to one saying, naturally we are going to be slow in the build-up play, but this is pre-season. It's all about getting us back to full fitness, and it will come. Like that quicker play, build-up play, that will come as the games come in. You'll see that. We've got QPR, we've got Brentford, we've got Everton. Like it will happen. It just needs to take its time instead of just whinging. Terry Menge, I think, is going to go back out on loan. Twansebe's been put up for loan for this season. Dylan Levitt's just came back from Charlton. James Garner just came back from Nottingham Forest. I expect them to go back out again. Brandon Williams, I think, is going to go out on loan. Tahith Chong, we already know he's going to Birmingham.
Just to ask you
that's good though.
Just to ask you about Brandon Williams, he clearly isn't a left back. Obviously, when he was a backup to Luke Shaw 2 seasons ago,
yes.
At the start he looked exceptionally good, but as time progressed, he got struggling and found out. And at right back, he clearly wasn't trusted enough to play as the backup to Aaron Wan-Bissaka. Clearly, there was something seen on the training ground. So, where does Brandon? Is it the fact that he needs a loan to gain experience in that position, or is he not actually a fullback?
I definitely think he is. The only reason he played at left back is because at the academy, Ethan Laird shone through as a right back. And obviously Reece Devine, who's now playing at St Johnstone on loan, he's a natural left-footed left back. He usurped Brandon Williams as well, but Brandon Williams got called up because of his versatility. He's not particularly great as a left back, but at least he will do a job. But I prefer him on the right-hand side. But the problem is you've got Ethan Laird, who I think is a far better defender. He's more complete. He can attack and defend. Diogo Dalot, not particularly a fullback, but he can defend slightly better. There's talks with Kieran Trippier, as we both know. We've spoken about that earlier in the show. Obviously, our viewers that are going to be watching this, because it's a pre-record, they're going to see it. There is a level of degree of Kieran Trippier can do both, but he's getting older. I think Kieran Trippier's coming in purely allows Ethan Laird to go out on loan in the Championship for 1 or 2 years. Give him a 2-year loan, see what happens. But Brandon Williams, I don't know. I think he needs a loan. I would send him to Brighton, Southampton, just that lower level Premier League club where he can go and just develop as a fullback, where he can get more minutes, and then he can take off and then come back to United and see what happens. But at the moment, he needs that loan because he isn't trusted, sadly.
Obviously, players that came off the bench, or Lee. I don't know why Lee Grant even got him in it, but sure, Lee Grant was there. Obviously, you named 2 goalkeepers on the bench, which you don't often see in friendlies, and obviously the other one was under 23 goalkeeper Nathan Bishop. He's been on the bench a few times. Why did Lee Grant play when he's the 4th choice / academy helper instead of actually playing the academy goal? For example, Tuchel in our friend against Petersburg yesterday, he didn't play Kepa or Mendy. He played Jamie Cunningham. He was on loan last year, and then the under-18s goalkeeper, he didn't play either of the senior goalkeepers, but he's playing Lee Grant. He literally is not going to play a single minute for Manchester United when the season starts. So, is there any logic in that, or is it just to give Lee Grant a game? Because you got De Gea and Henderson coming back after for QPR, so why not give Bishop at least some sort of minutes instead of playing the guy who literally is not going to do anything when the season starts?
I'm not entirely sure. I can understand why he started Tom Heaton, because obviously out of the 3 goalkeepers, he's the more experienced because he's actually played first team football. So starting Tom Heaton made sense. But not giving Bishop minutes, I didn't understand. I would have given him the second 45 over Lee Grant. I don't know why Lee Grant got on there at all. If you're going to have Lee Grant in there, then swap Bishop with another academy player or another senior player that you had available. Not naming 2 goalkeepers and then playing them makes no sense.
Jesse Lingard, we said already had a good game. Andres Pereira had a terrible game. That guy's not even Stoke level. Alex Telles, I thought he had a decent second half. He did look a bit unfit. It looked like he lacked sharpness, but he had I could be wrong, but I think he did have an injury in pre-season, so he was obviously trying to just run that off. Sterling, what he spoke about, Matic. What role is Matic actually going to play in the team this year?
He's just going to be there when called upon in games, when just rotation. But he was all right today in terms of
Mengi got 14 minutes. He's only been in training for 4 days, but it's good. It's probably good to see him come on the pitch. Get some.
So glad Hannibal came on. He's one of the young players that I absolutely adore to watch. He's quality.
Shortar, he's also in he got promoted to the senior squad. He had a good 45-second minutes.
Yeah.
Will Fish, another good centre back, but he should probably get a loan. Hugel, what happened with Hugel?
He just got swapped round for. I think he got swapped round for Shortire or however it was done. He came on, then we brought him off just to get more minutes into players.
Even Gabriel, no one Irish, someone who I absolutely adore. I know he's very highly rated when the Academy. I thought he had a decent 45 minutes,
especially when he's a midfielder.
There's a lot to come from this guy. He hasn't played for Northern Ireland yet, even in a friendly or anything, but. He's definitely getting there, and I know Solskjaer does like him a lot. And then I don't know anything about Bernard. That's the first time
He was on loan at Salford last year. He's a centre back, physical presence, quick, which is a good thing. We've got a lot of quick young centre backs in there, like Terry Mengi, Axel Tuanzebe, Will Fish, Deschamps Bernard. Those are fast centre backs. That gives me a great deal of confidence for these young. They'll outwork teams.
So overall, obviously Man United 1-2-1 in the end. Obviously the result doesn't really matter, especially in the very first pre-season game. Overall, it was actually quite an even game. But given Manchester United pretty much probably 7 senior players together, and then obviously a fair few youth players. Derby had their full team out for most of the game. Because I think they start. I don't think Rooney made any changes.
August 7th, they start a week before us.
And also think Rooney kept the team on until the 60th minute before making his changes. So you have to say, it was actually, again, it's a friendly and all, but I thought it's a good result for the kids, given you came up against obviously a senior team, longer in training, longer minutes. It's a good win for them.
Yeah, especially because it's championship opposition, and we know what championship teams are like when they get to start pre-season. They will give you a fight. Physical. Derby played good football as well. They were just unlucky not to score. They had a good chance in the 30th minute. I think it was Tom Lawrence.
Yeah,
Welsh boy should have scored. But Tom Heaton was called into several saves as well today. But the goal by Kasim Richards in the second half, fair play to them. That was very good movement. And Lee Grant was beating at the near post. He wasn't saving that.
Just to ask you about Derby, simply because of Wayne Rooney. Now, Derby are in a transfer ban. They're in a transfer ban. He cannot sign anything. He can't sign any players. We all know that they were extremely close to relegation last season. Obviously, they did get Phil Jackie Elkin before from Sheffield United before the transfer ban was put on them. Obviously, they've got some other decent players, as you can see on the bench. David Marshall's a safe pair of hands. Liam Thompson's quite really. But you worry about Derby County and Wayne Rooney, don't you? You're looking at that squad. It's young. There's not much in it. They've lost a good core of what Derby are. Tom Lawrence is the new captain. Him and Jackie Elkin are the only two real experienced players. And David Marshall,
like Graham Shinney as well. Like he's been in that team for a while. He's experienced. Obviously, he's played Aberdeen for years, so he's got top experience. Sonia Luco, obviously I know from Aberdeen, obviously Rangers. He's a good attacking player. He was dangerous today. He's 31 years old, but he's still dangerous, and he's got a wicked left foot. Ravel Morrison, Man United Youth Academy graduate. He's always been questioned about his attitude. But to be fair, I thought he had a decent game today as well, so I'm hoping that he kicks on for Derby and helps them. He's got Wayne Rooney, he won't take any of his shit. But the way they played the system 4-2-3-1 against ours, our system's going to change as our players come back. We're going to change to the 4-3-3 within a couple of games. I see that happening. But overall, it's a good starting point. They played a number 10 in a number 10 position. They played natural wingers behind a centre forward. It's exactly what we did. The only thing is, Tahith Chong's a right winger. He played on the left. Ilanga's a right winger. He's a left winger, played on the right. So he swapped them to get like a left footer cutting in on his left foot. I would have switched them both around. But Derby's the same. Aluko, he's a left footer playing on the right. That makes a lot of sense. And Ravel Morrison's a right footer on the left. That for me gives them good balance. But as long as they can keep Max Bird and Graham Shinney fit, they have a good core pivot pairing to feed through Tom Lawrence. I hope they don't go down, but they really do need to be careful. It's a shame they can't sign anyone back. Jagielka at centre back, he's not particularly quick, but he's a leader. So he does give them a leadership at centre back where they really are going to need it, especially in the Championship.
Do you worry about Derby low next season? This transfer ban, this squad, 46 games, a transfer, you can't sign or loan any single players for a 46 game season in a physical championship. Do you hate to say it, but do you think really this is too much of a big ask for an inexperienced manager, or do you think he could just pull up?
I think he could do something, but the one thing I hope, and I really hope this is, I hope the Derby board and the owner sticks with him. Even if he's like bottom 5, for example, which can happen. I do not want him to be sacked because of their own fault. It's Derby's fault they're in this financial mess. It's not Wayne Rooney's. He's working with these players. He's, like I heard on the commentary, all he can do is bring in trialists. Whoever they get in these trialists, they better hope they're good quality players and they give them depth to play in the season. Because also they're going to be in that Papa John's trophy as well. I'm pretty sure it's eligible to them. They're in the Carabao Cup, they're in the FA Cup, they're in the league. There's 4 competitions there where he can get young players playing. He can keep them fit, rotate. So at least he has a chance. But if they sack him, then I think that's absolutely disgusting because it's not his fault they're in this position. It's the owner's fault. And I hope they can work around it. But the fact that he can't sign anybody, I hope he gets the time. And I hope he does something, but I do worry for Derby. I do worry for them.
Okay, so on to the final point. Obviously, next season is coming. Obviously, you've been very vocal on the podcast, on all of the shows that you've been on. Obviously, this is it. It's a Solskjaer season. With Varane probably joining Sancho, the expectations and that pressure just builds and builds and builds. Obviously, you got Eric Ramsey in. You read Eric Ramsey a lot. You think it's an incredible gift, but obviously he can't. So he won't be. He doesn't have much of a say within the build-up play and the defense and the defensive side of the goal. He does more of the set pieces and those setups. So obviously moving the ball better and your transitions, that all needs to be better by the coaches who were there last season. So, are you excited for the season with the talent, or are you still slightly optimistic that these coaches will not give this team the potential that it should have because of what has happened in the final 2 seasons?
I think I can go in with a bit of both. I can still go in with the sense of we are strengthening in positions that we really do need the strength in, not particularly just depth, but it's quality as well. Like Varane, world-class centre-back. Jadon Sancho, he's on the cusp of being a world-class player, but he's been one of the top 5 creative players of the past 3-4 years, which is absolutely fantastic. So it's a matter of where we go. Eric Ramsey, he's not going to be the final nail in the coffin, like in terms of cementing position. Obviously, coffin could be used as a negative. I'm using it as a positive because it can be the final nail in the coffin for our weaknesses. Set pieces has been a weakness for us for a long time. I think he gives us a bit of an improvement, both offensively and defensively, improving us positioning. I saw it today before the game. He told the likes of Chong, Elanga, Garner, etc. in the box defending set pieces. He was telling them about body positioning, and we saw it. Normally we would concede from a set piece. We didn't today because of that body position, which is crucial. So I'm going to go in with a sense of we can win a trophy. We have to win something. But there's also a little bit of optimism of some things can creep in. It does happen in football. So I'm hoping this year, the weaknesses we've been trying to iron out do in fact go, but we don't falter. So I'm going to go in with a little bit of optimism, but also a sense of we can win a trophy, but we have got to be more dominant this year. We've got to cement it.
I know you don't like being managers out, Ollie in. I know because it's a debate. You lose one, you could go 7 games unbeaten, incredible form, lose 1 game and the Ollie out or sheer bag out and poison. I know you don't like Mark Olbridge. Mark Olbridge is a big advocate of getting the Solskjaer's out because he talks about he loses 1 game and he's immediately on Solskjaer's back. I'm sure you know that yourself. Yeah. I know you don't like being managers in there, but by Christmas, all right, say that things look a bit dodgy. Say the Champions League is looking a bit, not particularly great. Say you're joining Arsenal in the top six race by Christmas in the league. You wouldn't say you're all the out, but you would not particularly disagree if Solskjaer was sacked at Christmas if that was the case.
No, absolutely. I'm not all in, I'm not all out because people use those arguments as a weapon, and it defeats the purpose. By using all in or all out, you can. But another thing as well is a few of each category as they've defined themselves. The all inners can't be blind, and the all outers can't be blind either. You can be all in or all out, but you have to accept that at times he's doing a good job, and there's times where he's not doing a good job, and he needs to learn from his weaknesses. I think blind faith is a problem. But if, for example, we are 5th or 6th in the league, say 15 points off top 4, depending on who's in the top 4, it might not be possible to get back in, and we're out the Champions League. Whether we are in the Europa League or we're finishing 4th, then that for me isn't enough to keep his job, because we saw it with Chelsea and Man City during the COVID pandemic. They got to the Champions League final. I said Chelsea were going to get to the Champions League final when they got to the last 16. I was on a show with Rich Sports and I said, based on who Chelsea could get, I said they're getting that Champions League final. I don't know if they'll win it, but they'll definitely be in there because of who they've got. And obviously getting Tuchel cemented that for me. But I look at, if we are not in the Champions League knockout stages, if we are 5th or 6th in the league and we are not showing any signs of challenging, then yeah, he shouldn't be keeping his job. But if he is still in the top 3, top 4, we're progressing well in the Champions League, we're showing signs of a title challenge that will last the season, we're far in the domestic cup competitions, then I believe he should be given till the end of the season. But it depends on how the first 6 months go. If we're not in the Champions League group stage, if we are not in the Champions League knockout stages, and we are not in the top 4, then it will be difficult for him to keep his job. It will be difficult. And I can see where fans are coming from. Just don't use your arguments as a weapon. That's the only thing I would advise, because people use the Ollie in, Ollie out debate as a weapon over which one's right and which one's wrong, when necessarily we should just be a fan base wanting the club to do well, but realising not every manager is going to succeed. Not every manager is going to succeed. I hope he wins a trophy this year just to alleviate some pressure off his back and see where it takes us.
Well, the League Cup will be a perfect one. The League Cup will be a perfect one because you win it in February.
That's the first realistic trophy he could win, yes. So if he wins it, then it could give us confidence.
And we need someone else to win it. We need someone else to win it other than City. Kind of City win it for like the 4th, 5th time in a row.
So,
where do you think? Do you think right now? I'll go put you on the spot right here, right now. Do you think United will win the league?
So is this based on the question of if we with the signing coming in, or
on the current? No, Ferran, just the current squad that you have now. So say there'll be Lindelof and Maguire at centre back, for example.
Okay. No, but we'll still be second. I think we'll be second with a gap to City of 5 to 7 points. But if we get Varane and a defensive midfielder, then I definitely think we can win the league. But we have got to implement a new system. We've got to implement that 4-3-3, which I do believe is going to happen. We have got to remain consistent throughout the whole season in terms of the teams we've struggled against, like low block teams. We've got to win those games, and we have got to do well against our main rivals. We haven't beaten Liverpool in the league in 4 years. That's got to change. We've got to deal with Chelsea. We've got to beat Arsenal. We've got to turn up in these games. Exactly. And most importantly, we've got to go in knowing we can win rather than just wanting to win.
So as you know, I'm a Chelsea fan. So I want to ask you just some there's three questions I want to ask you. These are something I'm asking all these guys that comes on, because there's some contrasting opinions, and it's nice to hear them. So first of all, Chelsea. We're going to Chelsea squad. Obviously, Chelsea have not made any signings. They've lost Olivier Giroud to AC Milan. I know you're extremely happy with that signing. It's a big loss for us and a big game for Milan. Chelsea don't have only have one striker at the moment, Tammy Abraham, which we all know Tammy Abraham was not particularly favoured by Thomas Tuchel last season. Do you think Chelsea will struggle in the league next season unless Chelsea get a decent striker in? And to add to follow that question, do you think Chelsea and Abramovich could pull off his Haaland deal, or is there too much for it to happen?
I think Abraham, I don't think he is trusted. I agree. I don't think he is trusted at all. I think he's still a decent striker as a backup, but I don't see him necessarily staying. I think Werner should be given a chance, just to as a striker. I know he's played really well as a left forward attacking midfielder where he can cut in, but as a centre forward, he should be given a chance.
Just to add to that, there was that Sky Germany today. I don't know Sky Germany's credibility. You'll notice. I don't know if they're really reliable.
Relatively okay.
They actually said that Chelsea are seriously contemplating using Timo Werner in the swap deal for Haaland, plus 100 million.
That would get you Haaland, in my opinion. That would get you Haaland.
But I don't think Tuchel will want to lose him. I think he'll disagree with it.
I think he'll keep Werner and he'll give him a chance. I think he'll use Werner more. He just needs to get Werner firing, because Werner, he had a bad season in the league, but his hold-up play off the ball, like he's working without the ball, is still better than who you've got. His pace as well is a danger as well.
He did everything. He did everything right last season, but scored. That's literally the best way to sum him up.
Exactly. He just needs to find his form for finishing, because he's done that. He just needs to find his shooting bounce. Once he does, he's going to be a threat. I don't think he's getting Haaland. If anything, I think the striker you will get, I think it will be Lukaku.
Well, the reports were that they're going to try and go for Lukaku again, because they feel like Lukaku is a bit like that 30 million difference could probably be enough to get Lukaku. But I said this to Doug yesterday, and Doug's saying could Chelsea been caught with their pants down because they've left the strikers. Like they've left the striker situation ridiculously far too late. Like they would have known Haaland, before the release clause comes in next season, was always going to be. It feels like they've just been so slow, and they've just not been prepared for what was obviously going to be the most inevitable situation that we weren't going to get him. It just feels like Chelsea have been caught with our pants down and extremely unprepared for what's the obvious, and we probably weren't going to get him.
Absolutely, and clubs will take advantage of that because they've saw it with Man United. Man United were leaving it late with centre-back options, and then eventually we settled for 80 million on Maguire. We paid more than we should have done, but that's not Maguire's fault. But you look at strikers now, people are going to look at Chelsea's options and be like, we'll raise the price. They're going to have to go for it because they need a striker. So definitely, I agree. It will cause you problems.
Regarding the Chelsea team overall, obviously we won the Champions League last season. We reached the FA Cup final. We finished fourth in the league. Though let's be fair, we finished fourth extremely luckily because it was obviously thanks to Spurs.
Spurs in the final day, yeah.
Do you think this Chelsea team under Thomas Tuchel is what we've seen last season? This 3-4-2-1, the attack and play, how good we were defensively. Do you think that was a genuine? It was a genuine, it's a genuine legitimacy of how good the Chelsea team is under Tuchel, or was it a bit of a purple patch and a bit of luck? Because teams, there wasn't much training done. When Tuchel came in January, teams were playing, resting. So there wasn't much time to analyse and train against what Tuchel's system was. And even the likes of Aston Villa and Arsenal, when it came to the bridge, they kind of did figure out the system a wee bit. It seems like that system kind of was not particularly great against teams that sat back against us. Because the midfield wasn't particularly creative. Ziyech kind of struggled. Jorginho and Kante aren't creative midfielders. Do you think this Chelsea team will only get better from last season with a pre-season of Tuchel, or was there definitely a bit of luck and a bit of a purple patch? And there's definitely areas in this Chelsea team that could be exposed next season.
I certainly think there are areas that you can certainly expose, but defensively you've been solid. I still think, in all respect, even though Kepa's won the African Player of the Year, I don't think he's a particularly great goalkeeper. I still think Mendy, sorry. I'm just thinking goalkeepers, and obviously you have got Kepa, who's absolute average. Kepa's not particularly great, but he's a good goalkeeper. He's not top of the range, but he's getting there. I think you do need a more attacking wise system. I know the back three's benefited you guys because it suits your wing backs who aren't good full backs. I know Reece James is a brilliant right back or right wing back.
It's just the centre backs too, because Rudiger can come out of the back line and move with the ball quicker. He's a very rash. I think that's why maybe Lockett maybe played the back three to get Rudiger into the team too, because Rudiger can't play in a back four. He's too exposed. He's like David Luiz.
He's useless in a back four, but in a back three, he's perfect.
Thiago Silva doesn't have the legs, so he needs people beside him. And then Azpilicueta is a right centre back, which is something he's done his whole career, and we won the league under that. So the back three, as you say, suits the full backs, but suits the centre backs too. So that five, it's a perfect five in terms of chemistry and suits the traits of the players.
Yeah, I don't know if he's going to stick with the back three though. I think he will.
Well, no, he kept with the 3-4-2-1 on our friend against Peterborough. So he didn't do kind of what Ollie did, where he just played a basic formation with the youth players. He still used the same formation with players who aren't going to play next season, like David. It's never cost to drink water, so the formation definitely isn't changing.
Yeah, well, I can understand that. As long as you can get more of this team to be more creative and attack more, then there wouldn't be a problem. But he definitely needs to get more creativity into the team. He needs to get the right full backs, because I don't think Chilwell and Alonso are perfect for the left hand side. I know they're good wing backs, but they're not. You definitely you could do better. Reece James is a good right wing back, so I wouldn't have any worries there.
It's the backup to Reece James, because Azpilicueta can't do it.
You do need something there. Yeah. Forward positions, you've got Hudson-Odoi as a winger. You've got Pulisic, Werner. You've got Ziyech, Havertz, Abraham. There's different methods to have front six that you could work with. You've got Mason Mount as well. I think you do need to play a system where you can play as a genuine number 10 and maybe play front two. Add a wing, maybe play a 3-4-1-2. Maybe, I don't know. But you definitely need to get something in there. Maybe Werner and Abraham as a front two, unless you get a striker. I don't know, but you do need something.
I think for us to change to a back four, one, you need a proper CDM, because obviously Kante can't play lone CDM. One, with the injuries that he now potentially carries, and also I think he's just naturally changed into a more of a central midfielder and a defensive midfielder under Sarri and Tuchel. It's a genuine natural change for him. The centre backs, as we've already said, all the centre backs we literally have at the club can't play in the back four, but Kurt Zouma is the opposite. He can play in the back four, but not a back three, and he's likely going to be leaving. He's likely leaving here in the summer, I believe.
And obviously, you might go to Mori as well.
Yeah, tomorrow's went to AC Milan, so on a permanent. So obviously he's gone. We do have Malang Massar. He's going to be playing. I don't know how much you know about him, but he's still very young. If Chilwell gets injured and you're going to be playing Marcus Alonso at left back, that's a no go. That's just a no go. So
and you've got Emerson Palmieri as well.
He's leaving. He'll be leaving.
Oh, is he?
So yeah, he's leaving. I don't know where he's going, but he's definitely leaving. So yeah, there's Chelsea can't change from the back three, in my opinion, simply for those reasons alone. We would have to have a overall at centre back just to play a back four. But that's the issue. If this 3-4-2-1's figured out, and it will be, let's be fair, it'll come down to individual brilliance and Tuchel's in-game management in certain games when this is found out. It could cause us a bit of an issue next season. Because obviously Lampard tried to stick with the back four in his season and a half. And yes, in the second season, it worked with Thiago Silva and Zuma, but it started getting exposed quite hard when Chelsea formed up. So, and when Azpilicueta was playing at right back over Reece James, it was exposed. So there's a lot of working errors for that personal reason. Plus the fact that I don't think we're going to have particularly any striking options, but Abraham up front too. I honestly wouldn't be surprised if we see Tuchel do a Pep Guardiola and play Havertz as a false nine over an out-and-out striker next season, which is very, very possible. I don't think we're going to win the league next year. I think it's another top four fight, maybe another Champions League run if the George on our side. I think we'll reach the final for the third time in a row and actually finally win it. I take it you'll be in the same boat in terms you don't see Chelsea win the league next season.
No, I think he'll be I think he'll finish third though.
You think how many points behind United?
I'd say about 8 to 15. Because I think goals-wise, we're far better in terms of scoring goals. Like with past 2 seasons, we've scored well over 100 goals. Like we're one of the best attacking teams in terms of getting goals. It's just shutting up shop we need to work on. Chelsea have got the exact opposite. They're great shutting up shop. They just don't score goals.
And then my final question for you to wrap up this very, very good show. It's a question I think I asked you this. I think I asked you the last time we spoke on my channel. But I'm asking everyone this just for the reaction. What manager do you think will be sacked first next season? Now I know last time we spoke you wanted to say Sean Dykes. That's not going to happen. That guy's going to stay there unless they do actually get relegated. Everyone's been saying the obvious, which is the Watford manager. Mine's Dean Smith from Aston Villa. Are you going to go Patrick Vieira? Are you going to go for the obvious? Or are you going to throw in a classic Reece and throw in a bit of a wild ball, which you like to
do? The obvious ones are Vieira, Zisco, Deitch. I'm going to go with either Zisco or Steve Bruce.
Well, just funny enough, right? I don't know if you've seen, all right, but Newcastle had a Carl Darlow tested positive for COVID. So what Newcastle were actually going to do is they were going to split half their senior team and half their under-23s to one game against York City, and the other half were going to be split to the other friendly. But because of the positive test, all the senior players went to York, and all the under-23s went to the other game. Newcastle's senior team, so it was their full. There was no youth players used against York City. They lost 1-0, and Steve Bruce was trending out on Twitter after they lost to a non-league team with their full senior team out. So I'm not taking a big. People, you go ahead. Everyone look on the internet.
I did not know that.
Newcastle lost 1-0 to York City. I think it was like a 78th minute goal for York City, and Newcastle. Let me read out what the.
They changed numbers as well. Joe Linton's now the number 7, and Callum Wilson's the number 9.
Joe Linton went off injured. I don't know how serious it was, but I'll read out what the Newcastle team was just for people. Just for people to know, also I don't think people care, but the Newcastle under-23 was lost. So first of all, there's the proof there that Newcastle did lose to York City 1-0 pre-season friendly, which is quite bad. But wait until you hear this team. This is literally the full team for Newcastle, and there's no sarcasm within that. So that's the under-23s team. So it was Dan Langley, Jacob Murphy, Fabano Hernandez, Jamal Lascelles, Callum Watts, Matt Ritchie, Isaac Hayden, Jeff Hendrick, Ryan Fraser, Joe Linton, and Callum Wilson. And their bench was Clark, Dummett, Longstaff, St. Maximin, Gale, Lewis, and Butto, and they lost to York City with that team.
Fuck's sake.
Okay, so Newcastle lost their pre-season game against York City 1-0. Also, he played a back five against York City in a pre-season friend. He played literally a back five in both halves. You think Steve Bruce will get himself sacked if he keeps doing stupid things like that.
He's one of the dinosaurs that shouldn't be in football, like him, Tony Pulis, Sam Allardyce, Mick McCarthy, Neil Warnock. All these guys, boring, useless football, should be gone from the game. Steve Bruce, if he's playing a back five against York City, that shows me he's afraid. He is afraid.
In a friendly.
Exactly. Like, I can understand Chelsea playing it because at least they can be a bit of an attack-minded team playing a back five. Like, they have shown their team will play a higher line and they'll attack teams, but Newcastle don't. That's embarrassing, playing a back five against York. And for that alone, he should be sacked.
I just think some why your internet was being a bit dodgy. They didn't have a single shot on target.
Yeah, he needs sacked.
But that brings the end of this episode 3 of the trip ahead. Obviously, that's Manchester United covered in Reece's thoughts on Chelsea, and also the fact that he despises defensive managers like Steve Bruce. I said me and Reece will be back tonight on the channel for the Josh and Reece podcast, 7 p.m. I've got a nice little show lined up. It's not going to be talking about transfers or preseason. We're going to be talking about some past games, and then we're going to be ending it with a football quiz. As far as I'm aware, Nathan will be joining us, and potentially Doug if Doug can find the time. So you can't miss that show. Check my Twitter in the description below. Reece will probably retweet it, all of that about when the show for the link for the show and all that good stuff. So hope you've enjoyed this, Reece. I'm sure Doug will probably Doug can be in touch with you to do it on his channel with his series that I chat with. So
I hope so. I've not spoken to him yet, but if he does want to get me on for the build up to the league, obviously he's doing episodes with fans at the moment. I don't know if it's going to be me. It might be another Man United fan like Soph Richards, for example, like present YouTubers. I'm not sure, but if he does want me there for the Man United one, he knows I'm not going to say no.
Well, I appreciate you coming onto my channel and speaking for an hour. Obviously, I mean, you can speak for football for hours beyond hours beyond hours. That's why our podcast is as good as it is. And obviously, since this is the official Man United show, good luck for the season ahead. I hope you get relegated. I hope Solskjaer sacked and Chelsea win the league. But I hope you've enjoyed this, mate. Thank you very much. Yeah,
it's been a good laugh. It's been fun. Obviously, talking about football is my passion, and I love football. So it's good to be in a football-minded scenario. So. Thank you.
To everyone watching, thank you for all supporting on the video of Anthony for Leicester. Great reaction. Doug's video is out as we speak. For Liverpool, again, really, really good video. This video's been good. The next people to come on is Ben Green from Manchester City, who I work with on the Blue Podcast. Nathan will be coming on for a championship special of Cardiff City. Everyone knows Nathan gets into depth and passionate about Cardiff City, so make sure to be there for that one. Maybe Paul, BPL, will be joining us. And then last but not least is the south side of London for Crystal Palace, which is obviously probably one of the more intriguing unknown teams going into the Premier League season. So there's more and more to keep coming. A ton of videos on the channel over the next 7 days, so make sure you check it out. Hit the subscribe button, like the video, share it out, check Reece's socials and below. He does live streaming, a ton of tweets. Just don't get into any controversial topics of it because it won't end well for you. So that's just a wee heads up. But thank you, Reece. Thank you, Reece. Thank you, viewers. Thank you, everyone. And that's goodbye from us.
Why do you let us hurt one another just for the dollar? Did you lose your heart in the darkness deep in your pocket? No, I don't care of the price I pay. I don't wanna spend my life that way. Tell me, is the pain that you're causing worth what you profit?
Yeah, I know that money don't buy happiness, but buys you more material shit. Been reworking how I think and what it means to be rich. I used to think it meant to flex, so Rolex on my wrist. Feels bad to take more than you give. Lately, hate how we live. I never wanna become the things that I hate. With a man in the mirror with laugh and spit in my face and tell me that the money is maybe another fake. I've been drowning in my mind and my money's been at in weight. Oh Lord, please save me. I should've known that something man-made couldn't make me. I say I'm making music, or is music what creates me? I never have an answer, same question every day. See, when we pass on, all our things are passed on to the next. Everything we didn't do is everything forever in debt. You're forever